wherever you are. So our speaker Tina Carreri is not here, but she has shared her pre-recorded session. So before we start her pre-recorded session, I would like to give a small introduction about Tina Carreri. She is an internationally recognized motivational keynote speaker, author, singer, and women's empowerment advocate whose life journey reflects resilience, faith, and transformation. Overcoming cultural displacement, discrimination, domestic abuse, and personal loss, she rebuilt her life as a business owner and creative voice, becoming the best selling author of Whispers from the Cloud and an award winning speaker known for her keynote, This Ends With Me. Through storytelling, music, and advocacy, she inspires audiences to turn fear into action, set boundaries, and rediscover the strength within themselves. She is from Canada. So now we will play the pre-recorded session of Devi. So if you have if any questions, please post in the chat. We will send her an email. Thank you.
Turning the clock back to 1972, we were visiting relatives, and there was this tall, handsome young man there visiting from Italy. His blue eyes captivated me. We started talking and we hit it off immediately. After courting me for 6 months, he went to my parents and asked them for my hand in marriage. My father, being the dominant man that he was, said, "No way, are you crazy? My daughter's only 16 years old." But I was so in love and I was so determined to marry him, I fought my father to the core. To my surprise, my father gave in, and because his no was always final. Later, I found out why he gave in. You see, my father saw how determined I was. He thought I was going to run off with him and bring shame to the family. Moving forward, we got engaged and we began planning a wedding. 2 weeks prior to the wedding, we got married at City Hall. On the bus ride home that day, I saw a change in him. He starts flirting with other women, laughing, giggling, as if I didn't even exist. So I nudged him with my elbow and I said, "Stop it." He viciously turned around and slapped me. I held my hand to my cheek. I was stunned. He then leaned over and said to me, "I'm now your husband. You do what I say, when I say it, and how I say it, and you keep your mouth shut." After we got off the bus, I got my purse and I swung it at him. And I said, "I never want to see you again." And I ran as fast as I could home. That night, I told my parents what happened. They were so upset. My mother was crying. My father was furious. He was yelling, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail. While my mother's panicking, pulling her hair out, claiming she was having a heart attack. You're legally married now. The church wedding is in 2 weeks. What are we going to do? The invitations are out. This is my favorite one. What are people going to think? They didn't even acknowledge my feelings at all. It was all about them. That night, he came over in tears, begging for forgiveness, telling me he was sorry, apologizing to my parents. He put on his charm. He played the victim. And he was promising us that it will never happen again. I felt pressured to marry him. I was 16 and I was trapped between my parents' fears and my own. And just like that, everything was just brushed under the carpet as if nothing happened. The day of the wedding arrived. I was crying. I was crying going to the chapel, and I'm going to get married. Going. It should have been the happiest day of my life, but instead, as I walked down that aisle, everything inside me felt like running away. That day, I said I do, only to appease my parents' fears. Several months passed. I was 3 months pregnant. We got into a big argument. He grabbed me by the hair, dragged me down the stairs. He climbed on top of me and beat me up, viciously beat me up. Begging him to stop. He then grabbed his car keys and took off, leaving me lying on the floor with 2 black eyes, a fat bleeding lip, shaking, terrified of losing my baby. One night, on our way home from a party in Niagara Falls, we were rear-ended. The officer advised us against driving the car due to his condition. Soon after the officer left, he demanded me to get into the car and drive back home to Toronto. And I said, no way. I'm not putting my life and my 1-year-old son's life in danger. He said, get in. You're coming home with me. I said, no, I'm not. Then I'm leaving you here. I thought he was only bluffing. Well, guess what? He did leave us there. In the middle of nowhere, a rural road, farmland, no lights, in the dark. I was terrified, holding my son in my arms. I looked around and I spotted a farmhouse with lights on. They let me in to use their phone. I called my parents. They came and we drove home. When I got home, there he was, waiting for me with a belt in his hand, a furious look on his face. I quickly ran upstairs to put my son to bed. Before I had a chance to run into the bathroom to lock myself, he grabbed me. Well, you can imagine what happened next. Years went by. I kept the abuse a secret from my family, friends, and co-workers. I felt embarrassed. I pretended I lived a happy life, and I was getting really good at it. I was now 35 years old, 3 kids, and this fucking shit was still going on. He came home at all hours of the night, did whatever he wanted to do. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to fight with him so he can beat me up? Or I'm just going to keep quiet? So I decided just to keep quiet. One day, I found out where he hung out on Saturday nights. So I got in my car and I went to this nightclub. Of course, there he was, dancing and laughing with this woman who happened to be a friend of mine. When he saw me, he immediately ran over. He dragged me into the lobby and slapped me so hard on the face, I thought my head snapped. Tears in my eyes, I looked at him and I said, you are going to pay for this. And I left. I guess seeing, is believing. Because that night, something inside me just shifted. I looked in the mirror and saw his handprint on my face. Silence and fear were not serving me. I started yelling at myself, what's wrong with you? Where's the Tina who was a leader in school? The athlete with the drive to win, the blank employee with significant responsibilities. The one who cared for her younger siblings despite being a child herself. Tina, if you don't fight, you're not going to win. Stand up. So I did. I put my armor on, I'll show you who I am. I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. I'll win every single game. The next day, I filed for divorce. I felt the weight of the last 17 years lifted as I signed those papers. I fucking had enough. Enough is enough is enough. I want him out. I want him out that door now. The divorce papers were served. I was at the house packing a few things, my kids in the car ready to leave. He arrived and blocked me from leaving. When I refused to get out of the car, he grabbed a crowbar and started smashing all the windows of my car, glass flying everywhere, my children huddled in the back seat. Then he grabs a knife and starts slashing all my tires. I quickly got my children out of the car. We ran into the laundry room, locked the door, and called 911. The evident voice in me immediately got the SWAT team over. They arrested him. He did jail time. A restraining order was issued. He was not to return to the house. For a while, things were very quiet. One Sunday morning while I was making breakfast, there was a knock on the door. My youngest daughter answered the door. He comes barging in. I reminded him of his restraining order. And I said, I'm going to call 911. But you know what? I held myself back from calling 911 just because of my kids. Arguing and waving arms, the butter knife I had in my hand slipped out of my hand and landed near him. At the same time, I turned around to grab the phone and I said, leave or I'm calling 911. And he left. 2 hours later, the police came to my door. Are you Tina Kaleri? I said, yes, sir, I am. They grabbed me. They put my arms behind my back and they cuffed me. They said, you are under arrest. I said, what the fuck? Why? That fucker took the knife I dropped, went to the police station and claimed I threw it at him. Of course, my fingerprints were all over the knife. I tried to explain to them what really happened. And the officer turned around and looked at me. He goes, ma'am, you should have called 911. And then he threw me in jail. I couldn't believe how quickly my day changed from making breakfast for my children to being in a cell with prostitutes and drug dealers. The next day, I appeared in court and I told my story. The judge was furious with him. He looked at him and called him the scum of the earth and ordered him out of the courtroom. Well, let me tell you, he got up there as fast as I could say, "Mama fangulo, bastardo." All charges against me were dropped. Divorce still in process. He was ordered to pay child support, spousal support. He never did. But he underestimated me, you see, because I put a writ of seizure on the home. I had his wages garnished. I went to the motor vehicle department and proved what a deadbeat father he was, preventing him from renewing his license and his plates. And I made sure that everyone knew the monster he really is. Finally, the matrimonial home sold. I bought a house and I made a beautiful home for my children and myself. Didn't he go buy a house right around the corner for me, only to intimidate me? After he realized I had him by the fucking balls, he sold his house and moved away. I raised my children as a single mom. He wasn't involved in their lives for years and years and years. My parents, they became my best friends and my biggest supporters. I was working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by, it's all taken, never given. Oh, then I lost my job. I cried in the fetal position for days. One night I heard on the news about daycare shortage in Ontario. which piqued my interest because at that time I was babysitting my little nephew. I said, if I can increase the number of children to care for, I can have a pretty good weekly salary here. So I put a little ad in the paper. I forgot all about it until the phone started ringing off the hook. Thank God for my gift of gab. Before I knew it, I was running a home daycare. I embraced my inner businesswoman. I earned my ECE certificate, hired staff. The daycare grew enormously. And still, after 32 years, I continue meeting new clients and teaching the little architects of our future. My children are all now married with families of their own. I have 6 beautiful grandchildren who are the love of my life. My journey wasn't easy. I overcame adversity by transforming my pain into strength and my struggles into wisdom. I faced legal battles, abuse, false accusation, fear, and jail time, but I persevered. Sometimes those memories sneak out of my eyes and they roll down my cheeks. Today, when people ask me, how are you, Tina? I say, I'm happy. I reclaimed my joy through singing, can you tell, at events, sharing my knowledge, my wisdom, my spiritual beliefs, and I couldn't have done it without believing in myself and God being my biggest cheerleader. In God I found my worth, in God I found my identity. Oh yes, and I believe, oh I believe, this ends with me. I believe, this ends with me. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. That was really an awesome, fantastic presentation. She really drew the audience attention today. I really loved the presentation of Tina Calery. Thank you so much for sharing such an inspirational, emotional, motivational presentation with the Global Conference Virtual Summit 2026. So you have a questions from the audience. We will email you the questions. So please do join our next sessions as well. Thank you.